Everyone, welcome to this week's SIIA Tech Chats. Joining me is Sunil Pande, CEO of VersAccounts. VersAccounts provides cloud ERP systems for small businesses. Sunil, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you for your time as well, Liana.
Well, let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about VersAccounts and your vision for the company.
So the company was really based on the observation a couple of years ago. So most of the team comes from a fairly long ERP background. We spent a lot of time at Sage. We've done a lot of work in supply chain, and our observation was that as companies moved forward and they became more global, even small companies operating on a global scale, they needed to be much more connected to their supply and demand chains. And they needed to operate much more in real time using a lot of connectivity to a lot of services, for instance, logistics services, banking service, payment service, all these things. And we found that basically the technologies that were available to run the business today for these companies were 30 years old, and in the future they would need new solutions to operate in a new way. And so we decided that we would, as this turnover of ERPs was going to occur in the near future, we decided we wanted to be one of the solution providers to the new generation of companies for their future needs.
So for small businesses then, what do they need to take into account when looking for an ERP?
Well, certainly the first thing companies they take into firstly, I think the biggest thing I would say a company needs to focus on is the future. How they operated in the past is not going to be how they operate in the future. The way they're going to work is much more collaborative. It's likely they're going to operate on a global stage rather than a local or regional stage. So it's likely they're going to have to work much faster. So velocity is going to be important. They're going to need to be much more efficient. So working by exception is important. So as these as you're looking for a system, you need to focus on a vendor that's really focused on the future and has a platform, a solution that's focused on the future. Having said that, you need to then figure out what you can afford. And companies spend a lot of time engaging with customers, doing requirements analysis, etc. And then at the end, they figure out they can't afford a solution. So you really need to figure out what this solution is going to cost you upfront within a day or two of engagement with the customer. And then say, okay, this is something within my budget. The next thing you need to do is focus on some key business processes in your company. It's not so much do you have AP, do you have AR, do you have a warehouse management module, etc. in an ERP system, is do you have a system that will allow me to work the way that I envision for my company? So those business processes and workflows are very important. So you should have when you talk to an ERP vendor, you should probably have your key workflows documented and just hand it over to the ERP vendor and say, can you do this? Not do you have these modules, but can you do it? Can you do these things this way? And that's a quick way to either say, yes, we should move forward with this, or no, we shouldn't. Then you get into the whole business of doing a demo and getting into the specifics of finding gaps in every solution. Every solution is going to have gaps. No solution is going to be exactly the way you want it. But if those gaps are small enough, then you can move forward with the vendor as long as they're willing to do something about those gaps. So I think those are the three key things I would focus on. Overall, you really focused on user experience. What is it like engaging with the vendor? Are they going to take ownership for your success, which means are they a solution vendor or are they a software vendor? If you find them saying, well, this is our software and everything else you need, you got to figure it out yourself, then you'd probably need an IT department or some other partner. If this vendor is much more focused on what do you need as a business and we are going to make sure that the whole system works together, then that may be the solution for people who don't have vast IT resources, etc. Those are some of the areas that you need to look at.
That's good advice. Now, we live in such a customer-driven world today. So how important is it to orient an ERP system around that customer experience, and how do you recommend a company take that approach?
There's nothing that comes close. I mean, focusing on the customer experience is the most important thing. Just as we as a vendor have to focus on our customer's experience, and when we say customer experience, it's not customer experience with the software. That's a small part of it. I mean, the software clearly has to be easy to use, but it's customer experience using a solution and using your solution to deliver to their customers, and hence we impact the customer experience that our customers' customers have. That is key. When today in today's world, and I'll call it the age of Amazon, everything is going to self-service. Everything is going to quote unquote what Jeff Bezos liked to say, customer obsession. So customers expect a very low level of friction when they're trying to get something done. When they're trying to order, they'd like to come to our website, look at everything that's available, place the order. If they don't get something they like, they'd like to come back to the website or maybe their mobile phone and return it. It has to all be very easy, and if it's not, that's your biggest. That's not just a competitive advantage. That in today's world, customer experience is pretty much the whole story, and that includes ease of interaction, as well as pricing and all those other things are part of customer experience. So you need a system that will help you be competitive in each of those areas, with customer interaction, with pricing, with all of the other areas that you interact with the customer. It has to be something that the customer feels at least you deliver on par with everybody else that they deal with. And that's not easy.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, where do you see the distributed software market headed over the next 12 to 18 months? What can you give us your forecast?
Well, it's growing quite fast. What is happening, and it distributed as well as the whole movement to the cloud. It's growing quite fast, and so 25, 30% growth. We are seeing 25 to 30% growth in our business quarter over quarter. So it won't be, and it's a lot of it is a replacement business for old software, but at least 30 to 40% of it is actually new businesses that couldn't have existed 10 or 15 years ago coming into the market and doing all kinds of things that you couldn't have imagined 10 or 15 years ago. So I think there's an exponential growth been happening for some time, and that's going to continue.
Fantastic. Sunil, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you joining us. For more information on VersAccounts, you can visit their website, and I will be back here next week for another great tech chat.
Thank you.